Okay, by Be'ez Hashem, the Kreis, Tu B'Shvat, Haba Aleinu L'Tova. We always use this opportunity, normally every year, to try to go through a very, very crucial and important halacha. And in fact, this year I was thinking maybe we shouldn't. This year maybe we'll do something else. And then one of the very chashuv abachim in yeshiva came over to me and said, "Are we doing the slideshow on checking for bugs?" I said, "I don't know, this year, I don't know if the guys will be able to take it. Things are going to have to change in their production of life and everything." And he said to me, "No, but last year I changed so much, I became so much more aware of everything, and therefore we should do it again." So it's b'schos, this chashuv abacha, that we are doing this gavaldige sheh, which will be a schos, Be'ez Hashem, and how we eat and what we put into our mouths. The Gemara tells us in a few places that before Torah comes out of our mouth, we have to make sure what we put into our mouth is very, very careful. In fact, what we're going to be learning, and Baruch Hashem, you guys are learning Masechtas Makkos now, one of the most chomor isurim that a person can do is this issa that we're dealing with today, which is a gavaldige yisod to remember. The Pri Chodosh brings down Moedik Aloshen of the Pri Chodosh. He says that the issa we're dealing with today is kal be'enei adam. It's light in people's eyes. What's the big deal? The people that are saying it's also, they're machmirim, what do they know? All the jokes, they have bugs in their lenses of their glasses without realizing, Zug the Heilige Pri Chodosh, it's kal be'enei adam. But people who understand are careful. There's a Moedik Aloshen, the Zohar Kodesh. The Heilige Zohar Kodesh brings down, and his Loshen is, if you want Chaim milamala, if you want life up there, the Zohar Kodesh says there are two things that every person should be extra careful. Of course, we have to be careful from everything, but specifically two things. Zug the Heilige Orach Chaim Kodesh and the Zohar Kodesh. What are they? Number one, Lashon Hara, and number two, bugs when you eat. Why? Very simple. Because those are the two Isurim, out of all of the Isurim that we have, that it's just the smallest action of eating, the smallest action of saying one thing, can be over on Isurim and Isurim and Isurim. Normally to be over an Issa, you have to do an action for each and everything. But here, when it comes to Lashon Hara, a person can say one word, one phrase, one expression, one sentence, and can take down an entire community. And the lavim that a person is over, and anyone that learns Sefer Chavetz Chaim knows, you go over and over and over, and here it's the same thing. When we have to be careful what we eat, when we realize that what we put in our mouths is very, very important. Anyone that was ever zoicha to learn the chinuch, he learns Sefer Chinuch, he writes down clearly that the way that the body works physically is very much by what you put into your mouth. It affects Lemaisa, not only physically but also spiritually. The Orach Chaim HaKodesh brings down that why is it that we seem to find more bugs now than ever before? So the Heilige Orach Chaim HaKodesh, you know why? Because it goes with the Tumah of Klal Yisrael. It goes with the Kedusha of Klal Yisrael. If Klal Yisrael are in a good place, there's less bugs. If Klal Yisrael are in a place of lowness, then the bugs all of a sudden come out. That's the Orach Chaim HaKodesh. That's how careful, Rabbi Say, we have to be with the Issa that we're finding over here. And again, says the Pri Chodosh, another thing. He says we can always recognize the severity of something by how many times the Torah writes the Issa. Over here, the Torah writes posuk after posuk after posuk about the Issa of eating bugs, and that shows us how sensitive and how careful the Torah wanted us to be with these inyanim. And again, this is Be'etzim Nageya the whole year. The whole year this is Nageya. But specifically Tu B'Shvat, when people are eating many more fruits than normal, which Be'ez Hashem we'll talk about, Mitzvah Hashem tonight, Be'ez Hashem, the Heilige Tish, the Heilige Tzuda on Tu B'Shvat, it's going to be Gavaldik, we're going to be trying to Mekayim, the Arizal, all the Peiris. But that's why people are more involved in Peiris, so it's more Nageya now, but it's Nageya the whole year. It's Nageya to vegetables, it's Nageya to fruits, it's Nageya every single day of your lives if you are eating or preparing food. Okay? So let's discuss, number one, the Makar in the Torah. Where do we see there's a Makar in the Torah? The Pasuk tells us, and there are many Psukim, just going to quote some of the main ones, Vayikra Yud Aleph, Mem Aleph v'chol hashevetz, hashovetz al haaretz, sheketz hu lo yochal, right? Anything creepy, crawly, Don't become Tomei. We have to realize as well, Rabbi Isai, this is a yesod as well. There's something, and Chinuch brings it as well, something called Timtum Alev. Sometimes the neshama is blocked up. We've spoken about so many times how the neshama is so beautiful, it's so crystal clear, it's so mamish, it's so gewaldig, it's so precious, because it comes from the chelik of the Rabbeinu Shalom. But how is it then, if we have such a beautiful neshama, that sometimes we have no interest to daven, we have no interest to learn, we have no interest to keep Shabbos, or even if we do keep Shabbos, what does it mean to us? Why? What's pshat? Little do we realize that it comes often from the timtum alev, from the layers and layers and layers of impureness that we overlap over our neshama, and a lot of that comes from eating bugs. And other ma'achas sesuras, of course, as well. How careful we have to be what we put in our mouths if we want Yiddishkeit to taste gewaldig and sweet and delicious, because it is. Because we have these layers, we have to peel them off. Just by learning the halachas, Be'ez Hashem, we're going to be more careful, and Be'ez Hashem, Rabban Shem also will give us siyata d'shmaya to make sure that nothing goes in our mouth that shouldn't go into our mouth. So that's the makor in the Torah. Listen to this lashon in the Gemara. Gemara in Bab Mitzvah Samachala for Omar Beis. Tana Devei Rabbi Shmuel. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lashon HaGemara. Il Mola Yisei HaSisol Mitzrayim Ada B'Shvil Davazeh She'em Etamim B'Shvatzim Dai. Can you imagine? Unbelievable. We just had Shabbos Shira. Oz Yashik Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim. Galaldik, Moedik. Pesach's coming up in just a few weeks. And the Torah is telling us, Chazal is telling us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if I would have taken Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim for one thing, not to eat bugs, not to matama themselves when they eat the foods, to make sure that it's clean and not infested, it's enough. That would have been a reason. That would have been enough of a reason that Klal Yisrael would leave Mitzrayim. Gemara, Rabbi Yisai, before you show Gemara. Listen to this, Rabbi Yisai, Lashon, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, many of you I'm sure have come across this, Siman Mem Aleph. Harba Sirah Torah B'Shratzim, there are many times that the Torah warns us again and again about Shratzim. That's what we have to be careful of, Rabbi Isai. It's not only the issa that we're over on when we don't check the foods that we're meant to be checking, but the timtum alev, the tumah that it puts within our nefesh, is geferach, and a person has to be careful. A person has to be ma'oid, very careful, not to stumble. And Rabbi Isai, if we don't learn these halachas, there's no way that we can be careful, because how do we know what to do? When I spent time learning these halachas and making this slideshow, which I'm not saying is so professional, but I put it together myself with a little bit of whatever I could do. And the Maisa, when Baruch Hashem, I was able to sit by the Badatz, and I was able to sit by Rabbi Falcon, I was able to sit by Rabbi Zil Obach, and many Gedolim, and many people who are Oisek and Nizin who understood. I realized to myself, you can learn all of Shulchan Aruch, but if you don't know the Metzias, if you don't know the Metzias of each thing, or each food, and each fruit and vegetable, very nice, Shulchan Aruch cold, it's not going to help you. So, could be, that's why we have to learn what we're doing right now, not just to learn Shulchan Aruch inside, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch and regular Shulchan Aruch and Yodei and some of Peidalit, but also to understand where things are coming from. That's why it's very, very important. Let's move on, Rabbi Isai. We have over here the Choymer HaIssa. The Issa of eating chazeh, of eating pig, is one love. The Issa of eating gesheretz could be 4, 5, 6 lavim each one. That means in a fruit or vegetable, if you have a few, do the math, Rabbi Isai. That's pretty bad. All you wanted was a snack. All you wanted was to be healthy and have, whatever it may be, without giving examples, because we're going to get to examples. Okay? Now, there are 4 types of bugs that we will be finding in many of our fruits and vegetables. There's the aphids, the thrips, the leaf miner, worms, and cabbage looper, right? They're all different things. I'm not saying you're going to recognize specifically. The reason I'm showing you this is just to see, obviously it's been magnified a few times, but just to understand, these are the type of things. The aphids and the thrips are probably the most nageya, especially in lettuce and all sorts of things, which we'll try to get to see what we can do. Now, those of you that have learned Masechtas Makkas know clearly that we have over here 3 types, 3 categories of Yisurim, and the 3 categories generally have a nafkamina. Number 1, Sheretz HaMayim, something that goes into the water, that's 4 lavim. Something that's Sheretz HaOretz, that crawls on the ground, that's 5 lavim. And of course, Sheretz HaOyt, that flies, is 6 lavim. So it depends on what it is, again, per bug. So if there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bugs, do the math. How many lavim a person's over on by eating a little fruit or a vegetable in that way? Let's move on, Rabbi Isai. We know there's a famous Yisai, Rashba brings it, the Aruch HaShulchan and Yeridei Simon Peidalet also said, what does the Rebbeinu want from us? The Aruch HaShulchan says an amazing thing. He says, every time you open up your mouth, you're going to be swallowing bugs, because there's bugs in the air. So what does the Rebbeinu want from me? To walk around with my mouth closed? No. Why? The Torah was not given for Malachim. We're here as human beings, and the Rebbeinu understands that we're human beings. And therefore, to watch the normal things, yes, we have to do. But beyond that, we don't have to worry. And therefore, if that's the case, if the bug is so small that we cannot see it, it's not clear to the naked eye, it's be'etzem, not recognizable, no one knows about it, we can't see it, it's okay. Now, you'll ask me then, why is it that we find people using magnifying glasses, and we had this kasha by Hilchas Esrog, it's a kasha by other places as well? The answer is because sometimes we don't recognize what a bug is. We see a speck of dust, you take a magnifying glass, it's megala what it is as being a bug. That's a bug that you can see, just because we don't know how to recognize it. Which is why many of the bugs in our fruits and vegetables are recognizable. They are seeable to the naked eye. It's just we don't know what it looks like and how to look at the simonim and the signs. Mela, we don't see a bug, we just see a speck of dust. That's why we have to be very, very careful. Okay? Okay, let's move on, Rabbi Isai. 3 levels. Let's try to get practical as much as we can. There are 3 levels when it comes to bugs. There's the muchzuk b'tolayim. That is something basically, according to the Rashba and most other Rishonim v'achronim, it's over 50% chance that you will find bugs in there. Doesn't have to be 80-90. Over 50% chance, according to most, is considered to be a muchzuk b'tolayim. A muchzuk b'tolayim is category number 1. Category number 2 is a miyat hamotzoi. That means sometimes it's found. It's not rare. Sometimes it's found. And some even hold it 7-8%, 5-6% Rav Elyashiv. Okay. And then you have a miyat she'ena motzoi, which means it's very rare to find a bug in such a fruit or vegetable. It's very rare. What's the din of these 3 categories? So the din is like this. Anything that is a muchzuk b'tolayim, and we'll give examples lemaisa. Anything that is considered to be muchzuk b'tolayim is a chiyav min haTorah. It's a da'oraisa. It's a chiyav min haTorah for a person to check that fruit or vegetable before he eats, and it's also for him to eat it without checking. Number 2, miyat hamotzoi, a chiyav mid'Rabbanan. And the last category is a miyat she'ena motzoi, which is again something, as I said, we generally do not find bugs in. That is something that you do not have a chiyav to check. Which lemaisa, even though you've got no chiyav to check, there's a famous Chachma Sodom that everybody knows. The Chachma Sodom says that I once checked, I think if I remember correctly, only will correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was an apple. And he says over there, I'm not mechuyev to check an apple, because yes, that may be rare to find, but it's basically a mid she'ena motzoi. But he found the bug. And he says it shows us that even something where there's no chiyav to check, a person should be careful. Right? A person should be careful to try and check whatever he can. That means that it depends if you're in America, it depends if you're in South Africa, it depends if you're here in Eretz Yisrael, or if you're in England. It doesn't make a difference. Every place has a different set of halachas. And the reason for that is because importing and exporting make a huge difference to the item. For example, there was an infestation in a certain grape here in Eretz Yisrael a bunch of years ago, and the reason they found out where did it come from, how did it get infested, is because they actually brought over from California, they brought over some of this type of grape because they wanted to plant it here in Eretz Yisrael. It was infested when they brought it in, it came over here, everything became infested. So everything really depends on the mokim v'azman, and you have to sort of keep up to date with what's going on and know where you are to know what the halachas are. Various places have different halachas. Okay, that's just the general. Let's make some things practical. Muchzuk b'tolayim. What is vaday? Kemat vaday. Over 50% chance that you will find bugs in. So corn on the cob here in Eretz Yisrael for sure. In Chutzlo it's lav dafka, but here in Eretz Yisrael, corn on the cob for sure is muchzuk b'tolayim. Asparagus, artichoke, carob, various types of herbs, and these sorts of things. Figs, by the way. Figs coming up. Tu b'shvat, Rabbi say. Figs. Figs are muksa fakir. By figs, it's not the pshat. You know how many bugs are in there. It's just the shayla if you got them all out, because they're very, very similar in color to the actual texture of the fig, which means it's almost impossible to know that you got out the figs. Figs. I don't know how a person can eat a fig. Somebody told me there was a Rebbe that was makpid on the Rizal. He was missing one fruit, so he found a fig. He took mamish the minutest piece. He smeared it on the stender to make sure that it was clear there was nothing there, and only then did he eat it. Figs are very, very, very schwer. Raspberries,
they're not good either.
That's a different shayla. Okay, that's a shiva saminim. I don't want to. Okay, Al Capone, that's a good kasha by the way. What's pshat shiva saminim? All right, very good.
It's too much effort for no reward.
Okay, Muksa b'Talay Maboisa is basically this list. There's obviously a few more, but that's the basic idea. Let's move on. Miut hamotzoi. Miut hamotzoi means there's a chiyuv midrabanan to check, because it is a chance to find. It's not like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I found. Like if you open up a cucumber and you find a worm in there, that's like, oh my gosh, nobody finds a worm in a cucumber, right? It's not how it goes. So that's cool. That's the next stage. Miut hamotzoi means it's found. It's not crazy busy. It's not infested, but it's found. That, for example, dried apricots. By the way, the onim should know. Dried apricots very easy to check. You open them up, you put them to light. You can see cashews as well. Very many, very, very normal to find bugs in cashews. When you buy cashews in this country, you must open them up and check to see what's going on in there. Cherries, sunflower seeds, dates, very negaya. By the way, again, Shiva Saminim coming up tonight, Tu B'Shvat. We're going to be eating dates, right? So what's the din with dates? You have to open them up, take out the pit and have a look what's going on inside over there. Right, pineapple, and various others. Of course, this is just an example of some of those that I found. And a miyut she'enei motzoi, which means that basically it's never found. We basically never find such a bug. Could be it's there, but I'm not mechuyev to find it. And that's avocados, bananas, apples, craisins, prunes, pears, Brazil nuts, and of course, many, many other things as well. But that was just a few of the examples. Now, when it comes to checking and cleaning, it's impossible for me at this setting to go through how to check and clean every single thing. Contact your local kashrus organization or local Orthodox rabbi and ask him how to check each and everything. I want to give just a couple of examples. I hope it will come out on the screen nicely, because I have a couple of videos that I want to play. But I will just, before we do that, these are generally, it's a partial list of food that is normally free from bugs and requires absolutely no checking. Apples, kumquat, passion fruits, quince, star fruits, pears, mangoes, coconut, avocado, bananas, craisins, melon, cantaloupe, prunes, watermelon, all of these things are generally okay. Now, if you are checking for bugs, and this is again when you come home and your tati says, Yankala, the morrow, we need somebody to help with the morrow, right? The Ben Ish Chai writes a Moed Kazakh. He writes over there that he saw, Ben Ish Chai writes this, he saw women that were very easygoing when it came to checking the morrow, the lettuce, right before Pesach. He said there are various that they're over, and I don't know if they shouldn't even use the morrow. Rather, don't eat the minig of morrow, rather eating bug after bug after bug. Person has to be careful. So generally, when you do lettuce, right, which I've checked myself many, many times, even from places that people say, oh, it's okay, I've checked it, you put it to the light, you don't need the light box necessarily, you can hold it to the sunlight, the window, and you can see very clearly, you can see the little dots that are going on over there. I've seen this time and time again with various types of lettuce when checking for the morrow before Pesach. It's very, very negeya. These are those thrips that we were talking about. They're all over the place. You've got to be really careful when it comes. Let me see if I could show you this. I don't know if it will come out. I wonder if it will. Let me see. Let me see. One second. This is actually a regular. I wonder if it will. One second. Let's see if it will load up. I guess if it doesn't, then I guess it doesn't. But takes time. No. Take time. No, take time. So I don't know. I guess not. That's a shame. Okay. Oh, look at this. This is great. I get my words to set over. This is gewaldig. Okay, let's move on. Scallions. Right? Scallions? That's what you call them? Gewaldig. Let's see if it knows Hebrew. Should we go switch to Hebrew and see if it knows maybe Yiddish? I don't know. Let's see what happens then. Okay, so these sorts of things in the leaves, you'll find a lot of bugs. One has to be careful. herbs, or those English people out there, herbs. Be very, very careful when you buy mint leaves, for example, full of bugs. You've got to be careful from these things to make sure that they are clean of bugs. Corn on the cob, very nagay. Onions, by the way, onions. If it's a tight onion, very important to cut the top and the bottom, rinse the knife, and then continue, because often the top and the bottom of the onions, that's where the bugs reside over there, and that's where a person has to be careful to make sure, especially like this, you have a twin onion. Twin onions means there's a double, and there's often space in between. You've got to be careful over there. Now, when it comes to strawberries, I wish I could show you. It will be gavaldig. I have a gavaldig video. I really have a nice video. It's a shame how it shows the small little bugs within the strawberries, how like you mamish don't see them. They're in between. They rest in between the seeds over there. So you could look at the strawberry, it looks gavaldik, but the mice, there's full of bugs over there. So I remember I sat with Hagoyin Agadol Rav Falk Zatzal, and he told me, he was here in Eretz Yisrael, I spent a lot of time with him. See, he told me that he tried a mahalach. His mahalach was that he took every strawberry, took the whole bunch, put it into soap water for a little bit, just to release the grip. Then he would take each strawberry, and he would wash it under a running faucet, a running tap, running water, with a soft sponge, and sponge each one down. And he told me that was the way that he did it, and it worked. Now, he told me that he went to Ravaya, and Ravaya told him, Tzorich Ian. I don't know, we have to look into it. Someone sent me a message before Shabbos. So he sent me a message, are we allowed to, do we have to peel all strawberries? By the time I saw the message and wrote him back saying no, he sent me a picture that he had peeled every single strawberry. I said, Azam machme you are, because you don't know the halachas. You guys, Baruch Hashem, know the halachas. I actually sat in the Badatz, in their bug, they have a laboratory in the Badatz Eidos Charedes for bugs. I sat there for many, many hours, and I had a big tiny on them. Because I said, I have a problem with you guys. You sell strawberries with a badatz hechsha, but you hold that you're not allowed to actually eat them in the normal way. You have to blend them or something similar, in which case it's blended, it's not a berry, you're a day, a kuf, whatever, so it's not such a problem. So why don't you tell people? Yeah, we put it in the newspapers. So you expecting me that I have to buy and read the newspaper to know what's mutter and what's not? It doesn't say it in the stores. I told him that, but Kompani Rav Falk said clearly that he had tried the method and it works, and that's how a person can eat a strawberry. Be very, very careful because there's full of bugs over there. As you can see, these are raspberries. There's really, really a lot of bugs in these sorts of berries. You've got to be careful from all these sorts of things. There's all sorts of pineapples, by the way, in the little holes over there. That's sometimes where the bugs are. Got to be careful from over there as well. Be'ez Hashem, in between the cashews over there, Siyata Dishmaya, we've got to check. Dried apricots, Rabbi Sai, very, very common to find all sorts of bugs. And the dates tonight, Be'ez Hashem, Tu B'Shvat, look, you see a bug right over there. Very, very common to find bugs in all these sorts of places. These are prunes and everything else. This is actually figs. It's mamish, it's mole, it's full of the bugs over there. You've got to be very, very careful. Dried fruit also, you have to be careful in that case. Okay, Rabbi Sai, we'll leave it over here. Time is late, but Rabbi Sai, we daven to the Rabbeinu Shalom that by learning these halachas, the Rabbeinu Shalom will give us the siyata d'shmaya to help us and make sure that what goes in our mouth is 100% kosher and be mekadosh our beautiful neshama.